Welcome to the podcast. Now that I'm engaged, how do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis.
And I'm August Joker, co-host and brand manager at Fantasy Sound Event Services.
In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago.
Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress.
From budgeting to booking vendors to the day of drama.
Let's talk smart wedding planning.
All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? And today we are obviously joined with August, who's always here with us, but we have Cherri Maley. She's the general manager of Messina Inn, and we're going to be talking about all-inclusive weddings. But Cherri, before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself and how we got you here today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, so I have been in the hospitality industry for a little bit over 13 years now, in different aspects. We have done and are still doing vacation rentals. We have had catering businesses and currently have a catering business. And we are currently owning and managing a um, small boutique inn and wedding venue. So we do that here in Texas. We are on 13 acres on the Cypress
Awesome.
Creek in Wimberley. And we have 11 suites and 2 cottages. And we've been doing this for about 8 years now.
Fun.
Wow.
We have a little area in our place called Purple Orchid Inn, and it's very similar with a bunch of cottages and wedding venue and whatnot. So you remember when you were explaining it, I immediately thought of them in our little market. But all right, so we're here to talk about all-inclusive weddings. And so can you explain to the listeners what is an all-inclusive wedding package venue? What's it all about?
Yeah. Well, so first off, let me just say that no matter where you're at in our market, and I'm assuming it's the same in your market, that one package is not the same as another. So even though it may say it's all inclusive at one venue, it may mean something totally different at another. And so that can be really tricky for clients in trying to figure that out. The baseline of an all-inclusive means that it includes as much of the things that venue offers. So sometimes it's simply just like the venue, tables and chairs, linens, napkins, and maybe a few decor pieces. And then other times it can grow from there. And so I've seen them be literally every single vendor, from photography, officiant, invitations, DJ, all of that stuff. And we're kind of a blend. So we do, we have everything that we offer in-house. So we have lodging. So we include all of our lodging. And then we include decor, linens, catering. And then we actually contract with some of our favorite vendors for DJ, hair and makeup. Or no, not hair and makeup. I'm sorry. We partner with DJ, florals, and cake.
Nice.
Oh, great.
We do not include photographer, hair and makeup, and officiant, which are 3 key vendors, just because we feel like those are super specialized. I don't want to choose, your photographer and you wanted this style and mine doesn't do that. Or, hair and makeup, you like airbrush and mine does traditional, So those are vendors that I don't include, and that's why. But we find that our couples really love not having to go and search for those extra vendors.
Yeah, and I love the part where you brought up and you were explaining not everything is the same when you're saying all inclusive, because I think that can be said for a lot of things in the wedding industry. It's like, even like, for photographers, you're saying, how you guys don't, include those, but like comparing a photographer is not comparing apples to apples. It's apples to oranges to bananas to pineapples to every unit. It's like that. Everyone is different. So, I mean, I really like that you brought that up, because I'm sure it's the same with all inclusive venues as well.
In our market, it's true across the board, whether it's all inclusive or just a venue package. For example, we have somebody in our market that is the same price as us, but they don't include tables and chairs.
Geez, that's important.
Wow. So that sets you guys apart for sure.
Yeah. So, there it really I do my market research, and it's extremely hard to sometimes figure out what the venue includes unless you go on a tour and actually get that physical, communication from them.
Yeah.
But also just even when you can figure it out, you're never comparing apples to apples. I've yet to find any two venues that literally offer the exact same package.
No. We have,
Yeah.
like, venues in our market that are owned by the same people, and it's still a little different at both properties.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I love the idea of including vendors too. I used to work at a venue and they were considered all inclusive, and essentially what they covered was like catering, coordination, tables and chairs, linens, napkins, bar. That was kind of the main and the venue, of course. That was
Yes.
kind of the main, offering, but I love the idea of doing vendors because we would get asked all the time, like, "Oh, do you have an in-house DJ? Do you have this? Do you have that?" And it's like, "Well, no, we have a very lovely preferred partner list that we can reference you to because we have a lot of talented people in the area." But I like that because I think, it's overwhelming when you first start the process and you're like, "Oh my god, I have to research this, research that," and there's so much into it that you just don't understand, so just, like, showing up and, them being able to just show you everything and give you everything, I'm sure that's a huge weight off of a lot of couples' shoulders.
Absolutely. I would agree. Yeah. So my vendors are people that I've been working with for about 4 years before I launched my all inclusive package.
Mm,
And so I went with very specific vendors that A, I knew could do the job, but B, also had the ability to say, yes, I can do this package.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
didn't pick a DJ who was a one-man show.
mm.
You know, I didn't pick like a small florist shop that can't do multiple weddings in a weekend, and things like that. So I was very like I vetted them. I'd been working with them for about 4 years, but then also I wanted to pick people who I knew could take on such a client list.
Well, and probably people that represent you well as well, do a good job of
Yeah.
representing you, so.
Yeah, yeah. And I do find, the one unique thing I do think I find is that when you're getting vetted by a venue as a vendor, like that means something
Mhm.
to the vendor. And so they're going to be even kinder to and maybe jump through more hoops or maybe
Mhm.
offer special things that they wouldn't offer their normal clients because they're your client because you work with them so much.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and you're
agree.
not just representing yourself, you're representing an entire extension of another team. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Alright, Sheree, what do you find couples love the most about an all-inclusive package?
Well, I feel like a lot of people are so busy in their life nowadays that, like we were saying, not having to go out and search for these
Mm,
vendors. If you're doing your due diligence in wedding planning, you should be, interviewing a minimum of two of each type of vendor, right?
mhm.
And so this alleviates them having to go out and do that, wait for them to reply, listen to their stuff or watch their socials or whatever the case may be, depending on the type of vendor. And then having to deal with all the contracts and the different payments. So it really
That
comes down
too.
to time for my clients. That's why my clients like this package. And so I take care of all of that. I sign their contract with the vendors. I also make all the payments to the vendors. So they just make me one payment, over the course of our payment plan because we have it divided out. But they're not having to like keep up with, okay, well, I owe the venue and now I owe the DJ and now I owe the florist and now I own the cake. Like it's all one package.
It makes life easier.
So, what would you say is like your guys' ideal type of client? So, what type of engaged couple would benefit from an all inclusive package with a venue?
So for us, we are probably a little bit different than some venues because we have our lodging. So our
Hmm.
all-inclusive package, like I mentioned earlier, includes the lodging. And with that comes mostly couples who are looking for a place that has lodging. So that kind of sets us apart, right?
Yeah.
They're not usually looking at an all-inclusive venue that doesn't offer lodging. Um, but what we found is most of our couples, either one of them is not from Texas originally,
Oh, okay.
Mm,
right? Or they don't neither one of them currently live in Texas, but Texas was their home or holds a special place in their heart. And so they're looking for a place for everybody to gather. We also get people that like are meeting in the middle. And so they want a place to gather. And so our clients are usually somebody who really wants the ability to spend time with their people,
Mm.
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that sets us apart from like just a traditional venue that may offer all inclusive. Um, those are the things that I think the two things that are our ideal clients are people who are looking for a full weekend experience and then also just not having all the stress of having to keep up with all the different vendors and the payment plans and what all that entails.
When I probably feel like the vendor team is probably extremely cohesive in their work as well, right? If they're working together all the time, they've developed a rhythm. I'm sure they can anticipate certain things from each other. So, I mean, I feel like that would give me even more peace of mind as well. But
Mhm.
I love the idea of a full weekend. That's super fun. Do they typically do rehearsal dinner and rehearsal on the property as well?
Yeah. So for us, we kind of play it off as like, come spend the weekend with us.
Oh, I
Yeah.
So
like
they
that.
check in at noon on Friday. And all of their guests we can sleep 37. So not all of their guests. I shouldn't say all of their guests, but the
I
guests that
think
are
that's a
staying
good
on
amount. Yeah.
yeah. And so they can sleep here. They check in on Friday. We usually will have rehearsal on Friday. Rehearsal dinner, we have like our conference room that we use as our rehearsal dinner space and our breakfast space. And so they'll have rehearsal dinner on site. Sometimes they'll go to town and do things
Yeah.
too, just if they want to get experience the little Wimberley is a very little special town here in the hill country. And so sometimes they will want to get out and kind of get their people out in the town.
Yeah.
But then we're just 2 miles from the square, so they can come back here and spend the night. And then we have breakfast the next morning for everybody. And they can start decorating and getting hair and makeup done. There's no, traveling from the hair and makeup studio back to the venue and all of that stuff because they're already here. Um, and then, we usually do ceremony and reception here on our property. We have multiple spots that they can choose from along the Cypress Creek. And
Mhm.
then they spend the night again Saturday night, wake up the next morning, have breakfast again, and then work on getting their things gathered and checking out. So it's a 3-day event.
That's a lot of work for you guys.
It
I was
is.
gonna
It
say, you
is.
guys have to be on all the time, yeah. But I love that, it's like you're home away from home for the weekend, you just have one home base, like you said, you're not having to move around unless you want to, so totally
Mhm.
optional. I feel like all that travel back and forth probably takes a lot of stress out of the weekend as well, so
I love it.
Yeah. And not having to like have such strict time restraints too.
totally.
So like I've done some weddings back in just my coordinating days that, you had to, you know, 8 hours total to get everything in and out and done. And so with us, they're here the whole weekend. So they can start, we are an outdoor venue, so they can't start decorating outdoors necessarily, but they can start decorating, like the welcome area is indoors, so they can start putting their guest book and things like that up and, sorting through their boxes and figuring out where
Yeah.
they want stuff. And then we include decor so they can start, take a sample set up and get that set up and take pictures for their people who are decorating if it's not the florist and things like that.
I love it. So you said since everything's outdoors, like what is there a season that you guys go to? I don't know. We're California, we're weird. We do weddings year round, but
We do, yeah.
Yeah, well, in Texas, and being an outdoor venue, you probably don't wanna be in the middle of summer.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's got to be miserable in the summer.
Yeah. So we are completely covered. So if it does rain, we can transition under the covered area for ceremony and still hold the reception, but there are weather considerations. So we do close our weddings from mid-June to mid-September, and then we're just open as a boutique hotel during those times. And we'll do like family reunions and things like that. And then we also close our weddings again from mid December to mid March because of the colder weather here. Texans don't really know what cold is, and even though I'm born and raised, but I've had people, like in November, it's not even that cold, and they're like, "Are we moving this inside?"
Well, you guys have two sides of the extreme of weather out there. Like, I
Yeah.
have an aunt who lives in Fort Worth now.
Okay. Yeah.
But she's like, it's snowing, it's hot. And I'm like, that's a lot for you guys to just transition between that so quickly. But it must be nice to have those two little breaks in the year too, because you guys can just really devote your time during the months you're open and take a well deserved break during those other months. So
Yeah, it is kind of nice to be able to take a breather and not every weekend is such a push, but
All right, I love it. All right, are there any types of stipulations a couple would expect with an all-inclusive wedding package?
yeah. So for us, the smallest all inclusive package that we offer is 50 guests. Some venues I have seen do have like 100 guest
Mm,
minimum. And
mm,
then others just have like a minimum spend. So it just depends. Ours is, we can go down to 50. We like to be around the 100 just because that's more what we're about. But we don't do really, really big. I think the largest that we've done is 250.
well, that's
Um,
big.
that's big. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did an internship that did 400 guests. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Um,
we have a wedding. We're talking to a couple. We're just involved in their lunch portion. That's 300, but then their dinner is going to be 600 people. I'm
oh
like,
my goodness.
that's what I said. I'm like, how do you even know that many people? You know,
I
it's
know
like,
like 5 people. Yeah, I don't know 600.
I mean, I know your guest count can creep up on you. When I got married, I was like, no way am I going to have more than 50. And then we ended at 77, and there still was people that were not invited.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We just couldn't fit them. Um, but yeah, so it really depends. A lot of venues have in our area have minimum spends, so that's a really common thing. You could really go down to as small of a guest count as you wanted, but you would have to spend their minimum. We do not have a minimum spend. Ours is just based on your guest count is what your all-inclusive package is going to.
Love it.
I love that. That's really nice actually. Okay, so how do you make couples feel like their all-inclusive wedding is unique and personal to them?
Yeah. So, first of all, I tell this whether it's an all inclusive or not. I can definitely see how a venue that does like you get these three centerpieces choices, that is an all
Yeah.
inclusive
The
that does
blue
it
one,
like
the
that.
green one, the orange one.
Right.
Pick.
I can
Yeah.
definitely see how that could become cookie cutter. But honestly, I tell this no matter whether they're all inclusive or not. When people ask me what my favorite part of wedding is, I tell them anything that is true to you.
Mm,
So
Mhm.
in the wedding industry, we see the same centerpieces, the same linens, the same flowers, all the time. And so I think what really makes something special is when they bring in elements that, speak to them. So,
mm.
we've had times where it was a cultural effect, where we had an Asian bride who we did Asian appetizers for their wedding. That's not traditional.
Mhm.
We had one where they had a family like Chex Mix type situation that they made every year.
Well, that's cool.
And so they had jars of that on every table.
That's
Um,
cute.
yeah, we had a client who they were big bikers, like they like to mountain bike and did lots of trails and stuff like that. And so they had every table named after a different trail they had been on. They had bicycle wheels with their seating chart on them.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. So, the ways that you can apply things, even having, pictures of you or your family. We had a blended
Mhm.
family here earlier this month, and we put pictures of the entire family on every cocktail table. So anything that you can do to make it unique to you and true to you as a couple, that's where I feel like you're not going to get.
Yeah, it's
I
all in
love
the
it.
details really, and, like, the
Yeah.
couples I see where, like, I'm setting stuff out and, like, the bar had, like, the specialty cocktails are, like, named different. They have basically
Hmm.
something on every surface, like, the favors are something you've never seen before. I love when people like the bicycle wheels you're saying, do something super unique with their seating chart. Like, the more times I see couples just go crazy with every single detail, the more fun I'm having too as a vendor, and I just can't imagine how much fun the guests are having, right? Like, they have an intimate relationship with the couple, and they come in, they see their personality shine, and it's just really fun for everyone when a couple puts that much effort into showcasing themselves.
Yeah. Also, our all inclusive is not like you get these set flowers and this set
Mm,
cake. Our flowers we give them a dollar amount that they can spend with the florist. And of course they can exceed that if they want, but
totally.
they take that and they tell them we want these colors and these flowers and things like that. So we don't see the same flowers every weekend or, the same cake. We've had fondant cakes, we've had longhorn cakes,
Wow.
stuff. Um, all different kinds. So those are kind of just different ways that, we feel like makes ours unique compared to some of the other all-inclusive wedding venue packages.
Love it. Are there any like big misconceptions about an all-inclusive venue?
We just say that goes back to the type of package that you're looking at.
Right.
Hmm.
It also depends on like who you've been talking to when it comes to all inclusive, because
Mm.
if you like August, you were saying you worked at one that
Mhm.
had so if you've ever had somebody who had an experience with an all inclusive package and they're sharing their experience, you're like, that's a great idea, then you're only following that person's, version of it. So
Right.
knowing the different packages and knowing that you can make it less cookie cutter just by adding customization, even if it's in, even if you have only the three choices, maybe you can add some personal touches to it.
I love that.
Yeah. And I feel like it's like never assuming, right? Like never
Right.
assuming there is something or there isn't something. It's like making sure that you're reading your contract correctly and understanding everything that you're going to receive the day of, because we had a lot of miscommunications with that too, even though the paperwork was very clear, the contract was very clear. It does get confusing for couples because, like you were saying, like if you're talking to a bunch of different venues at once and maybe some of them have all inclusive packages and some of them don't, like that can get a little bit scrambled in your mind, I'm sure, when you're deciding at the end of the day which venue you're going to go with. So I think it's just reading, being very clear and not assuming one way or the other on anything.
Yeah, I highly recommend to my couples, if it's coming down to like 2 to 3 venues that you're trying to decide, that, you really make a list of your priorities
Mhm.
Mm.
and then look at what your that each venue offers so that you can make sure that your priorities are met with those packages. Because like I said, if this sunset backdrop is more important to you than having tables and chairs, and I'm the same price as that venue that doesn't include tables and chairs, then, but I don't have that sunset ceremony site, then maybe you need to go with the one that has the sunset and you'll just rent tables and chairs, you
Yeah.
Yeah.
know? So, and other times, like you're like, I want to have the freedom of bringing in my own alcohol. I don't want to have to buy alcohol from you. That's another factor to consider because some venues have their own bar and some of them you can bring in your own alcohol.
Yeah.
So that's where I say, like, really looking at your priorities and seeing what the best package to match your priorities is.
I love
Yeah,
that.
it's funny you say that because, oh, sorry, Kevin, because we
No.
we just had a couple on the podcast, and we do this like mini series on the podcast where we host past couples that we had, and we asked them like, okay, now that you're done, you made it to the end of the race, like, what are your thoughts? Like, how was the entire planning process? And I'll shout them out again, but DJ and Jacob, one of the big nuggets that I got from that podcast episode was exactly what you said, was they didn't really start planning until they nailed down what their priorities were and what their non-negotiables were, and they let that drive the entire planning process. So I think that's great advice, because like you really can't make an educated or like, firm decision or a comfortable decision until you know what's going to make you happiest at the end of the day, and you have to have those priorities lined up.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. All right. What are some of the biggest perks couples notice when planning an all-inclusive at an all-inclusive venue?
I think just checking things off your list, right? So when you're planning a wedding, your to-do list is a million items long. And
Mhm.
so I think the biggest perk is just being able to check off like, okay, now I don't have to go find this linen, and I don't have to go find this napkin, and I don't have to choose all of those details. Like, yes, you still want to customize your song list. You still want to, Pinterest out your flowers and your cake and things like that. But I think that that's probably the biggest thing, is just being able to check some items off your to-do list, because that list is long.
Yes. More like 1,005 things. Yep.
Yeah.
It is crazy. No, that's such a good point. Yeah, and it's just a huge chunk, right? Like those are some of the biggest things to start with, and maybe the not so fun things, because I feel like nailing down vendors is probably one of the first things you got to do, and it's all the fun little details after. So if that's one big check mark you can get done, that just makes the whole rest of the planning a whole lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's see, I think we have a couple more questions for you. How does an all inclusive package help couples manage their budget or avoid hidden costs?
I feel like you have more of the cost up front to plug into your budget, so that you can make sure that you are applying the correct allocations to the other things. So,
Mm-hmm.
with it also depends on your venue. But like for us, we line item everything out, so that if our client is going and they're searching, like, they know how much they're paying for the DJ, they know how much they're paying for the flowers, how much they're paying for the lodging, and all of that. And so that way they can plug those things into their budget, and then they actually have a realistic number for how much they have left to spend. As where when you're trying to do that all at once and you're getting all these different prices from different people, and what's the final numbers, and an all-inclusive package should be pretty much all inclusive in price as well as what it includes. And so there shouldn't be a whole lot of hidden costs, as where when you're booking a package that doesn't have that, they're going to charge you, maybe, I don't know, some ballrooms charge for like lighting, right? That should be included in an all inclusive package.
Mm,
If
Yeah.
it's all inclusive, it should be pretty much everything that the venue offers. So that should help with some of that hidden things, in addition to just knowing more upfront of what you already have spent.
yeah, it goes back to that video we were talking about on a previous podcast that
Yeah.
the comedian makes
Oh,
fun of venue tours and going, "That's an upcharge, and that's an upcharge, and that's this," and yeah. So
it's
yeah,
not
no,
included.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, but it's so true. And I think, I mean, and I assume with you guys, it's just one contract the couple is signing, right? It's not
Hmm.
multiple. So I think that's
Correct.
probably easier too. Like I'm just reading one contract. I'm not reading six, right? For all my vendors and everybody coming in. So that would make me feel more comfortable too. Like I'm not missing anything. I fully understand what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I do think that there is a slight thing as far as contracts go, is like, if you didn't read the
Mm,
florist's contract, you may not know certain things. But I mean, as the venue, that's my job to know what those ins and outs are and help
Right.
educate and answer
well,
questions.
And you end up managing the florist a little bit for them as well. So
Yes, I
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. All right.
So.
So as we wrap up here, how can couples decide if an all-inclusive wedding is truly right for them?
So the two factors that I find most common in all inclusive versus a regular package is going to be a couple things. One is going to be, do you know any vendors that you're wanting to utilize already?
Mm.
Right? So sometimes somebody might already have a family member who does cakes, or they really wanted this uncle to cook for their wedding, or or they already had a DJ that did this great wedding they went to last year and they already wanted to use him. And so if you already have some vendors in mind, then probably an all-inclusive package is not.
I like that.
The other thing that I would say is that some people want a really bonded vendor team. So they want to have that connection the second they talk to you, right? So they are interviewing you as a florist, and they feel like you get my vision 100%, and we just clicked and you knew what I was thinking before I said it, right? Those kinds of things. And so sometimes those kinds of clients that want that special connection and a very well bond with their vendor team, then an all-inclusive package may not be for you. It still could, but it may not be, because you'll get to know them, but after you've already signed them. So it's not something
Yeah.
that's like a predetermined thing.
I love it. All right, Cherri, thank you for enlightening our guest or our audience all about inclusive weddings. We've never talked about inclusive weddings on the podcast, so thank you for being our first person
Yeah, good
to
topic.
to take our listeners through this. Yeah, it was great. So we always like to we'll let all of your information known in the show notes, but how can folks get in contact with you?
Yeah. So we are in Wimberley, Texas. And so our website is messinainnTX.com. And you can find all of our packaging and pricing on our website.
All right. I love it. All right, Cherri, thank you for being here for another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do We Get Married? I'll get it out. It's hard when you have two
You got
podcasts.
it. Don't worry.
I
It's
know.
all
I always say
you.
it's very normal for me to say the wrong podcast on the wrong one. So anyway, all right. Well, Cherri, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you, and we look forward,
Thank
folks,
you.
to seeing you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for having
Bye.
me. Bye.
Okay. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast.
Brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me or August if you have any topic you would like us to cover.
Or if you're struggling with your wedding planning, please be sure to submit a question to podcast@fantasysound.com.
I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review.
It helps others find our podcast so that they can learn from our guests too. And to everybody listening,
Happy wedding planning!